it's Lisa here on the Crafty Meraki YouTube channel today. So for today's cards, I thought I would use the lovely fern leaf dies and also a couple of sentiments from Celebrate You. And I thought that I would do some colour blocking. This is a really fun and simple way of adding colourful backgrounds behind your white die cuts. So I'm just going to start off by showing you the cardstock that I'm going to use today. I've got a couple of panels of £80 Nina Solar white cardstock. I've also got some A2 panels of other different colours, a couple of pinks, a honeysuckle and a green. And I've also got some greens and blues. So a couple of greens, a light and a dark, and a light and a dark blue. And we're going to be making 2 cards today with all of these cardstocks. So I'm going to start off by taking the first 4 panels of cardstock that I showed you, and I'm literally going to chop each of them in half. So I'm going to end up with 2 small panels of 4 1/4 by 2 3/4 of an inch on all of my 4 panels. So I'm actually going to have lots left over. Plenty more to make other cards if I want to, or they will just go into my scrap bin and they will get used on other cards at some point. Nothing goes to waste. So here are the panels as they've been cut down. So I'm just going to discard 4 of those and work with the other 4. And now I'm going to take each of those smaller panels of card and I'm going to line them up in my trimmer, and I'm just going to cut from corner to corner. So I'm going to end up with 2 triangles for each of my pieces. I will only be working with one of those triangles from each set, but I will keep the others for another card. And this is such a simple and fun way of adding a graphic background to your cards. You could do this with circles and cut them in half. You could do it with hexagons. You could do it with diamonds. You can really have fun just chopping up bits of card and placing them back down again. So that brings us to the end of the cutting, and I'm now just going to go ahead and think about how I want to place these triangles. You could do it that way, or you could go ahead and do it in a slightly different way. So just play around with the shapes and see what is pleasing to your eye. I decide to go ahead with this combination, and I've added some double-sided tape to the back of one of my white panels. Just going to peel some of that off to start off with and lay my first triangle down. And I did do this quite slowly. I wanted to make sure that I did actually get that triangle really flush with my base panel before I go ahead and add all the extra triangles on. So again, you can see how slow I'm being here, just to make sure I'm not leaving any gap in between those 2 triangles before I press it down. So I'm just going to remove the rest of the double-sided tape and then go ahead and position the last 2 triangles. And you can see here I've got a little bit of excess white on the right hand side, so I'm just going to take that to my trimmer and trim it off just to neaten up that side. And now we're going to go ahead and repeat the process with the second set of cardstocks that I showed you. So I've got 2 greens here, a light and a dark, and then I've got 2 different blues. Well, they're kind of more aquas, so a darker and a lighter aqua, and I've just chopped those in half as I did for my first set of cardstock. And again, now that we've trimmed those down, we're going to go ahead and cut all of those pieces on the diagonal. And honestly, this is really simple to do, and the biggest decision that you're going to have to make is what colours of cardstock you decide to use. So I've now cut those 4 into triangles, and I'm just going to flip the position of these on my second card. So I've got everything kind of meeting to a point on the left hand side. So just playing around with the order that I'm going to place those down. And then I'm going to go ahead, as I did with the last card, remove the backing tape from my double-sided tape and position those down. And now I'm going to add some adhesive onto the back of each of those panels, and I'm going to add them to a top folding A2 white note card, and then we're going to move on to the die cutting. And I have done all of my die cutting off camera. These are the Fern Leaf Meraki Paradise. There's 2 dies in the set, 2 different sizes, and I've die cut 4 of each, and I'm now going to go ahead and adhere those together. Just finishing off with this final one here. I did the others off camera just to save a little bit of time, and I think just having 2 stacked together really helps to give them a little bit more stability, as they are quite delicate die cuts. Now I'm going to go ahead and just position each of those die cuts over the card bases just to see how I want them to look before I go ahead and glue them down. So I'm now going to add some adhesive onto the back of each of these leaves. I'm not adding it to the whole of the leaf, I'm only focusing on the centre portion of each of those die cuts. I actually want the edges of the leaves to sit free of the card panel. I just really like the look of having those standing up a little bit from the background. And I've gone ahead and added the die cuts to the other panel off screen, and now it's time for us to just finish by adding our sentiments. So these 2 sentiments are both from Celebrate You, and I've white heat embossed them onto black cardstock. I've put some foam tape onto the back, and I'm just going to place those down. And that brings us to the end of today's cards. I do hope that you've enjoyed seeing these come together and maybe give colour blocking a try. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will be back with another card for you soon. In the meantime, I hope that you have a wonderful day. Bye for now.